Now we'll be talking a little bit about the sugar industry. We know we have a new government and a new agriculture minister. We would have heard them spoke several times in the past about reopening and revisiting the sugar estates. In a previous interview, the new Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Zulfikar Mustafa, would have said, well, Will Sugar Estate is probably going to be the most difficult to reopen. So can you give us a little more insight about the estate as it relates to that, seeing that you're here and you're on the ground?
Okay. You're speaking about why it would be the most difficult one to reopen. The reason is really simple. The first thing is the factory. The the gantry that lifts the cane has been moved to high flood. Most of the parts in the factory that could have been used at other estates, not quite a lot, from the mill, and so went to high flood. Some went to Blairmont, some went to Albion. From my point of view, I can go and look through the factory there, and it's nearly a new factory you're talking about. Right? The entire processing system and everything has now been rusted up and fouled up. And prior to 2016, some of them are already non-operational. Right? So the factory is one of the issues. The other part of it is some of the infrastructure in the back dam. Massive work would have to be done on the dams, access, as well as to the bridges. All the wooden bridges are in a real dilapidated state. Getting around would prove a serious challenge. The other thing, yes, I mentioned before, opening of the estate, which would be a good thing in terms of finding employment for people. The problem will be the main works that you're looking to get done, which is the field work. People have been showing the tendency that they don't want that kind of work anymore, at least not the younger generation, right? And the sister estate nearby, Iflot, still at this point has to use a contractor to supplement the labor force there. The crop started just the other day, Monday, and to supplement the labor force, particularly in harvesting. Leave it normally, they would not get the turnout they're looking for. And they have, the contractor, who is an ex-guy Suko too, has been around here trying to recruit people in potential. And right around the area, and he's not getting any kind of turnout. He gets much better turnout when he sends his lorry to Enmore. Right? There are people from Enmore that work with him at Iflot, and he goes there, he gets a full lorry, and he come here, he can get, like the first, he get 5 persons, and 6, but it's nowhere near what you would get from here. So he gets his support from the East Coast, out of the Enmore area, Enterprise area. Wales is a little different kettle of fish to deal with, right, compared to the other estates, right? The other estates are a bit more, for some, they're more dependent, particularly in Berbice, because there's no other industry or major industry. Wales got a lot of things going on around it, right? And a lot of people were absorbed into it. Some went to Iflot. Most of the tradesmen here, the artisans, went off to Tulsi Prasad, they went to Gaffur, they went to Starling Products, they went to DDL, right? It remains to be seen if they would come back. I know some of the guys that meet me every day. One was here up to yesterday for a recommendation, that they are very glad to come back closer to home. A lot of the operators, some of them go to the interior and things. So if they get that work nearby, yes, there are certain categories would definitely like to come back and benefit from it. But there are certain categories, which I call the trench work, the field people. You'll get a serious problem with labor supply. To some extent, it would have to be mechanized, which can call for change of the layouts. So Wales, indeed, would be the more difficult one on account of 1, the factory, 2, dams and bridges, 3, labor force for the field, right? Even if they get everything else in place, they will be hamstrung by that part of it, getting the labor. And then even if you get the labor, you got to get reliable labor. As I mentioned it earlier, a fair day's work for a fair days, it will be tight. And the people's mindset has to be changed, right? That's why I feel Wales in particular would be difficult. I've worked in many other states, and I can tell you about the workforces in those places, right? Right. Much more committed people. I've met I never really worked there, but I worked at LBI, right? I worked at Albion, I worked at Skeldon, right? They have committed workforces, and particularly in Borbis, there's no other industry really to compete, right, with Gaisuku. Almost everybody got somebody there. If they're not they themselves, they have somebody there. So the closure really hit them hard. A lot of friends I had who were severed went overseas because there's nothing there, right? Normally used to visit them once a month. But Wales, again, as I say, would have some challenges because of infrastructural problems and actually refurbishing of this factory. And you know, when you have a factory or a building or anything, and you have to repair it or fix the car itself, and the cost of the repair is 40% or more of a new one, you should buy a new one, right? And that was exactly going to be the problem at Wales factory, right?
Okay, so in the meantime, what do you think can be done to sustain the workers who would wish to come back and work at the estate and work closer to home?
Okay. At this estate,
Yeah.
what I would like to say is that to be mean something, whatever is in it, that will be something meaningful, right? It must be contributing to something. It's either whatever is done is helping Iflot Estate to get more canes than they're currently getting. It must be tailored in that direction. If, for example, if these lands here are brought back into sugarcane cultivation, and now you would get from land preparation straight up to harvesting, you would get the cane transport to Iflot would become a bottleneck. Right? Matter of factly, it was tried in the past to move canes from here to Iflot when sometimes the factory break down for an extended period and you want the cane to spoil, you try to transport it to Iflot. And a lot of times it would still run steel. I may check the transportation cost. More normally you're going to use a contractor, right? It's really astronomical to transport canes from here to here, unless something groundbreaking is done. A waterway, some sort of waterway between here and Iflot to make those canes really cheaply. To pull it by road, very expensive. Even the farmers couldn't afford it at current sugar prices. Right, but yeah, if they decide to take back the land, they're going to have a problem for machine operators. They will get vacancies in machine operators. They're going to need planters. They're going to need spraymen. Generally, the children Gaisuku has. They will need all of these things. And assuming they wouldn't use this factory, then they have to find a way to get the canes to Iflot factory. Right. That's where I see the bottleneck. In the short term, putting out a crop takes a year. It would be a small crop. Remember, it's not the entire cultivation. You can plow and plant within one season. It may take 3-4 years to actually get back the entire cultivation and the cane. And when you are, by the way, as I said, Wales Estate is really 3,380 hectares. And you put all that back on the cane, you would do about 60% of it in the second half of the year, 40% in the first half of the year. And the bottleneck would be getting it over to the factory at Iflot. If there's a way to that, well then yes, it can go back to Sugarlands and employ the people.
Okay, so what do you think can be done to diversitize this estate?
Estate, okay. Matter of factly, my boss, as I sit here, my current boss, was known as the diversification specialist, Mr. Fritz McLean, right? We communicated as recent as yesterday. And diversification means not sugarcane, something else. What I would want you to clarify is if the diversification is to be done privately or government.
Government.
Okay. To me, though, the private sector, I feel, would have to play a role in diversifying out of sugar. Gaisuku tried diversification before, right? They tried dairy. They had a dairy project in Versailles. Perfect Harmony. We had tilapia, we had red beans, we even had rice, right? And for some reason it didn't work. I feel it didn't work because for some reason we didn't, at the time guys took sugar is sugar. And they didn't really want to go along the line.
Before we go, Mr. Brown, is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
The big picture, right? I would like to see Wales a vibrant place again, right? Some sort of employment. People still coming, but most of the people coming to ask now were not ex-Gaisuku. Some of them never worked, really. They're in the 20s. They never work here, but they're looking for employment. Close to home, so to speak. a lot of the people coming to ask for work. And as I said, I have the knowledge of the people around there. Almost, when they used to have Christmas parties, I was one of the few persons know everybody there, right? Going to Christmas party for pensioners, right? I know most of their descendants who come here now to ask if there is anything. And I would like to see those people gainfully employed. But, again, as I'm saying, the principles that I've been talking about all the time, right? Punctuality, regularity, a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. That is what I would like out of them. And again, as I said, I would like the same. Most of the people that were say forward, some of them gone over 60 years old. Those under 50 that I can tell you about, most of them are gainfully employed. Some took up employment at IFLOT, some took up employment at other places, right? As I said, they would like to come closer to home, but most of them that would come and ask are the younger people, right? Most known to me. And I would like to see something happen for them.